Yo, 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 ladies and gentlemen, we have another one. And we have Mr. Tom Homan, who is the border czar. And he is a great leader. And he is saying that we're going to get these people imported and get them deported up out of here. But anyway, the migrant shelters in New York City with Mayor Adams, who has vowed to help deport the illegal immigrants, which I think is a great move on Mayor Adams' part, because that is the absolute right thing for him to do, because he is being counseled by his own party, the Democrats. And so he is on the Trump team. But anyway, check it out.
Bad guys from California to New York. New York Post cover, trendy Aragua gangbangers tied to wild Colorado apartment takeover, arrested in major New York City drug gun bust, according to sources there. A lot of folks in Colorado said it's not just true. It's just not true. It's happening in places like Aurora. However, in New York City now, you've got more than 750,000 illegals, but the middle number is the most surprising to me. 58,626 previously convicted of crimes and charges pending. I got to think that's the group that you will target based on what you have said to date, Tom. Am I right on that or not?
First of all, Aurora, Colorado, I was there. I went there. I went to that apartment complex. I talked to residents of that complex. They're lying to the American people. Tren de Agua took over that area, and not just that one apartment complex, that entire area. I was there.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about New York City and their illegal immigration problem. A problem that is causing crime in the city. There was a new bombshell report that came out showing that there were over 57,000 illegal immigrant criminals living in the city, okay? And this has caused even Democrat politicians in New York City, city council people, to come out in outrage over what's happening to their city when it comes to migrant crime, which is something that the mainstream liberal media refuses to acknowledge.
Tonight on Newsmax, Councilman, good to have you with us. So what was it that finally convinced you we have to do something about the illegals?
Well, I was sounding the alarm years ago, actually. I visited ICE headquarters. It's near City Hall. It's not very hard. I'm a conservative Democrat, Todd. Listen to that one. There's a few of us left. But I did visit ICE headquarters a few years ago when Biden took office, actually. And they were sounding the alarm then that we got busloads of migrants coming in. What are we doing with them? We're going to have to pay for this? So I introduced a bill in the council. It's been about a year now, to actually roll back some of those sanctuary city laws. Unfortunately, it's not getting any traction with some of my Democratic colleagues. But again, I've been against sanctuary cities practically since their inception.
Councilman, I'm wondering if your party gets it nationally. They got their butts handed to them in this past election cycle. Do they not understand that the American people across the board simply do not want to be supporting these tens of millions of illegals?
And I believe a lot of people in the sanctuary cities did not understand what they were voting for, and perhaps did not vote for this mess. We know that they have a way of cheating. So I believe that some of in some of these cities, we know there was some cheating going on. So I think that's how some of them became sanctuary cities. Who would vote for this stuff? But anyway, I know one thing we have to get rid of the sanctuary cities, ladies and gentlemen. And that's exactly what Tom Homan and President Trump is going to do.
No, they don't understand. And they think money grows on trees also, my colleagues, because they, when the Mayor Adams announced, hey, we can't keep footing the bills and keeping migrants in these hotels for a long period of time. So he kind of put a 60-day cap on their stays, and then started to take away some of their Visa cards and benefits and food. And they're screaming bloody murder now in the council, New York City Council. The Democrats are. Again, I don't see eye to eye with them. I'm sort of on the outskirts along with a couple of other colleagues. But it's common sense, Todd, that we can't keep footing the bill. We can't keep asking taxpayers to pay for this. And by the way, do we really need 58,000 migrants who are convicted felons or have pending criminal charges against them? That's how many we have.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Okay, now I love Newsmax, right? Because Newsmax, Todd Starnes, he did not hold back when referring to the so-called migrants, right? He said illegals, right? I just think it's hilarious to see a news channel refer to the so-called migrants as illegals, okay? Because most of the networks, including I think Fox News, they try to be politically correct about it, right? They try to say, oh, these are migrants. No. Illegals, right?
Yeah,
Illegals.
yeah, illegal.
Okay. You just call it like you see it, right? And that's why I think Newsmax is awesome. So, with that being said, you guys heard the Democrat from the New York City council, right? In which he basically said, listen, this stuff costs too much. It costs too much. And this is one of the reasons why Eric Adams is cutting back. I mean, there was another bombshell report that came out showing just some of the ridiculous spending that sanctuary cities like New York City and Denver are currently participating in when it comes to housing the illegals. Take a look.
Fresh new glimpse at the massive amount of cash sanctuary cities have soaked up on people who are not American citizens.
Yep.
Both Denver and New York City are spending hundreds of millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars. So the citizens are paying all that money for people who are not citizens. And you won't believe where some of the money is going. New York City effectively paid $220 million to Pakistan in order to rent the Roosevelt Hotel as a full-time shelter for people who were not citizens, who many of them came across our border illegally, but they're here. Vivek Ramaswamy is going after this with this quote. A taxpayer-funded hotel for illegal immigrants is owned by the Pakistani government, which means NYC taxpayers are effectively paying a foreign government to house illegals in our own country. This is nuts, end quote. Now let's just go on.
Did y'all know that? Now, if that is not crazy, I don't know what is. But I guarantee you, President Trump and his cabinet are going to get all over this mess immediately. This is crazy.
On over to the sanctuary city of Denver. According to one nonpartisan research report, the city has spent more than $356 million on its migrant response since December of 2022. That comes out to nearly $8,000 per migrant and 8% of the city's total budget.
Yeah, so what you have here is an interesting situation developing among sanctuary cities, right? You have some sanctuary cities, like, for example, Denver and their woke mayor. They're coming out and doubling, tripling it down, right? They're saying, well, we don't care if this is bankrupting our city. We don't care how much it costs us. We are willing to go to jail to protect our illegal immigrants, right? We want to protect them at all costs. And they're refusing to work with Border Czar Tom Homan to deport the illegal immigrants, right? To do something about the crisis. And then you have states like California who are Trump-proofing their states, right? They're going out of their way to say, not only will we refuse to work with the Trump administration in order to deport the illegals, but we're going to use taxpayer funds in order to help them fight against legal cases that are brought against them. Take a look.
We're not going to utilize state and local resources to do the federal government's job for them. And so if it's legal assistance, legal advice, legal support, that's just the California way. We embrace our diversity. Our diversity is what's made our communities thrive and our economy thrive. And so we will assist families against the threats of the Trump administration.
There it is, that last line, will assist families against the threats of the Trump administration, of which you will soon be a part. Here's California 4 years ago. Here's California today. Look at that red shift. But there is still plenty of blue if you want to run and hide, Tom. What's going to happen?
Well, look, we're not asking local law enforcement to be immigration officers. We're asking them to just, like, for instance, the jails. Let us in your jail. Let us in your publicly funded jails to take custody of an illegal alien that you decided to lock into a jail cell because obviously he's a public safety threat. The California Sheriff's Association is behind us 100%. Law enforcement wants to work with us. We're not asking you to be immigration officers. We're asking you to assist us in the jails. Let us in the jail to arrest the bad guy, because we can't arrest the bad guy in the jail, in the safety and security of a jail.
Now, doesn't that make sense? That's the first plan. That makes a lot of sense. These criminals, the people that's already locked up in jail, they can easily go get them because they already locked up. And Tom Homan, the border czar, is saying, just release those people. Give them to us. We're coming to get them first. We know they're criminals. You already got them locked up. And we're not going to keep feeding them. We're not going to keep doing none of that. We're going to put their butts on a plane and we're going to send them back to where they came from. That makes perfect sense to me. Now, if you're in one of these cities and you're saying that you are not going to turn these people over and they're already in jail, then there's something wrong with you and you are un-American and we're going to lock your butt up too.
That means they release them back in the community, which means we got to send officers out in the community, which makes it unsafe for the officers, makes it unsafe for the alien, makes it unsafe for the immigrant community. And they're screaming and yelling. They don't want ICE officers in their neighborhoods. Well, guess what? If you don't let us in the jail, you are forcing us into the neighborhood.
Yep.
More officers in the jail means less officers in the neighborhood. It's just simple math.
Now, New York City, on the other hand, right, as you guys just saw, they were spending a lot of money on ridiculous things too. But Eric Adams has shown a willingness to work with President Trump. In fact, as you guys saw at the beginning of this video, he reached out to Tom Homan, the border czar, and said, hey, let's work together, right? He wants to talk. They want to cooperate.
I saw. But you're right. New York City, there's a target-rich environment for illegal aliens with criminal convictions or pending criminal charges. And that's what President Trump has been clear about from day one. Right out of the gate in the deportation operation, right out of the gate, our priorities are public safety threats and national security threats. So I hope that every elected mayor and elected governor will agree with us that public safety threats need to be removed from their communities.
On that point, Tom, does it appear that the Democratic mayor in New York, Eric Adams, a former cop, is ready to work with you?
I hope so, because I've just been notified he wants to sit down and meet with me. I'm willing to meet with him. I'm willing to meet with anybody to help make their community safer. Because again, prioritization out of the gate is public safety threats. Work with us on that. It makes your community safer. It keeps my officers safe. It keeps the community safe. Let's work together and get this done.
When's that meeting happen?
I haven't responded yet, but I'll respond this week.
Okay, we'll be in touch with you and him. Tom Homan, thanks. Maybe you can come on together and we'll have it out. Thank you, sir. We'll talk later in the week. Tom Homan, thank you.
Hopefully he wants to cooperate on the mass deportations because Eric Adams is making moves to suggest that he's done, right? He actually really is attempting to clean up New York City and their illegal immigration problem, and he's willing to work with the Trump administration to do it. And in fact, he is closing down more migrant shelters as we speak, and this comes after he rolled back the food stamps program for illegal immigrants. Okay, you remember he was handing out Visa debit cards for the illegals because they didn't like the food that New York City was paying for them to eat, right? So they were like, okay, well, we're just gonna give you food stamps so you can buy your own food. Yeah, he rolled that back. Okay, he's also been rolling back a bunch of other programs as well too, and spending, and now he's shutting down more shelters as it seems as if him and border czar Tom Homan are about to meet, and that is where things are going to get interesting. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
With the closure of multiple migrant shelters and more that could be shutting down soon, while the number of migrants arriving in the city has dropped, political reporter Marcia Kramer reports the city still needs to address the needs of these families.
Fearing the Trump administration will cancel the federal lease for the 10 complex at Floyd Bennett Field that houses 1,800 asylum seekers, the Adams administration is looking for alternate sites for the families who live there as officials move to close other emergency facilities.
We're going to continue to make sure that we are protecting those that need protecting.
All this comes as the number of migrants entering New York has fallen. During the week of November 18th to the 24th, 400 people entered the shelter system, but 1,200 left, a drop of 800 in 1 week. This compares to January, when the city was getting about 4,000 new asylum seekers each week.
It's been about 20 weeks that I believe that the census has been going down. So we have been planning to close sites little by little.
In the last month, the city has closed 11 shelters, 1,800 rooms at places like the Americana Inn on West 38th Street, the Voyage Hotel in Long Island City, and the Hotel RL in Brooklyn. But that's not all. There are also plans to close upstate hotels in Albany, Dutchess, Erie, Orange, and Westchester counties that currently house 900 asylum seekers. Randall's Island, which has about 2,000 migrants, is scheduled to close in February. It's saving the city a ton of money.
We've been able to save over $2 billion. So to me, that's the real story here. And now we're going to continue to manage this crisis and make sure that we're able to downsize.
The Legal Aid Society is also concerned about Floyd Benefield and whether it could be the target of immigration raids.
The Legal Aid Society would obviously like to see the site close and for families to be rehoused, ideally close enough to their children's school so that they're not completely just displaced from the neighborhood.
President-elect Donald Trump's new designated border czar says he wants to meet with Mayor Adams to discuss the migrant crisis at City Hall. I'm Marcia Kramer, CBS News, New York.
Yeah, so you see, now you heard that, okay? Apparently Eric Adams wants to work with border czar Tom Homan, which is something that I 100% support, okay? And I have been talking about this since it first came out, like speculation came out that Eric Adams would be open to working with the Trump administration, that he was taking a U-turn when it comes to the illegal immigration crisis in his city. It just makes too much sense, right? It makes way too much sense for it not to happen, okay? Eric Adams needs a pardon, right? He needs a Hunter Biden, okay? He needs Trump to do what Joe did for Hunter, okay? But to do it for him, okay? He needs that, okay? But also on top of that, he needs to rebrand himself politically, right? He needs to understand that if I want to continue my career as a politician, right, I'm going to need to make a rightward turn, right? I need to essentially come back towards the middle. Now, he ran that way in the New York City election. However, I don't think he's governed that way. I think he has come out to be a lot more far left on certain issues, like, for example, illegal immigration, than he had suggested when he was running for mayor, right? So, again, the guy has been somewhat of a surprise, but I think he sees the writing on the wall that a lot of Democrats don't see about their party, which is that they're too far left, right? And I think that he is going to work with border czar Tom Homan to clean up the illegal immigration problem, because it will be a W for him, it will be a win for him politically, and it will be a win for President Trump, right? Can you guys imagine the victory lap that Eric Adams and Trump could take if they actually cleaned up New York City? And then that also would put a lot more pressure on the Democrat mayors of these other sanctuary cities to do the same thing, to cooperate. Because again, it doesn't have to involve ICE agents in neighborhoods. As Tom Homan laid out, we don't have to do that if New York City, if the local law enforcement just do their jobs, right? If they lock up the illegals and they keep them locked up until ICE can deport them, then hey, we don't have to go into neighborhoods. You don't have to see footage that may be uncomfortable, right? As you have ICE raiding migrant facilities and things like that. You won't have to see that if local law enforcement does their job and holds the illegal immigrants until ICE can come and arrest them and deport them, right? It's really that simple. So it is possible that thanks to Eric Adams, right, we could see New York City being the first sanctuary city experiment to cooperate with Trump's mass deportations and what that actually is going to look like. And I am rooting for success, right? It's nothing more that I love to see than Democrats and Republicans work together on things that actually make sense, right? I'm not talking about just, giving corporate America more money, because that is what they tend to work together on the most, right? They tend to agree on that the most, more corporate socialism. But when it comes to stuff like this, okay, mass deportations, hey, I love to see it, right? I love to see it, okay? Work together, get it done, do what's best for the country, do what's best for the American people. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.
Thank you very much. That was Greg Foreman of the Conservative Perspective channel. And he explains why we don't need sanctuary cities and does a great explanation of why he thinks that Mayor Eric Adams is doing a great job and turning over and leaving the Democratic Party and working with Donald Trump, which is what I have been saying all along, that that's what Eric Adams needs to do. It's the only thing that would make sense for the mayor of New York. But anyway, I'm your host, Big Al, Uncle Coon, and we just dropped another one.
Real deal. That gal on the mic, UncleCoon in the house, dropping knowledge, speaking truth, no room for doubt. From debates to celebs, we cover it all. Tune in, hit subscribe, you don't want to miss the call. Real deal. Al UncleCoon, bringing the heat. Every episode's fire, can't be beat. Hit that like, share the vibe. Join the fam, come along for the ride. Politics, pop culture, and everything between. Big Al's got the scoop, you know what I mean? From Harris to Trump, we break it down. Common sense talk, the best show around. Real. Al UncleCoon, bringing the heat. Every episode's fire, can't be beat. Hit that like, share the vibe. Join the fam, come along for the ride. Cash App, show some love, support the grind. Big Al's on the rise, one of a kind. UncleCoon podcast, the place to be for real talk, real folks, and real TV. Real. Al UncleCoon, bringing the heat. Every episode's fire, can't be beat. Hit that like, share the vibe. Join the fam, come along for the ride.